Hello, this is the daily Forex report for November 22nd. We are looking at the US-Japanese yen pair. This pair closed down, formed an inside bar for the second day in a row. We are looking for this pair to continue moving sideways with a bias that is sideways. Look for it to potentially go as high as 83.93, possibly as low as 82.78. Look for some resistance around 83.75 and look for some support around 83.00. Now looking at the Euro-USD pair, this pair gapped up from Friday's close. It did retrace that gap as expected. Overall moving sideways. Look for it to potentially go as high as 138.66, possibly as low as 134.47. Look for some resistance around 137.86 and look for some support around 135.67. Now the pound US dollar pair, this pair closed down, did gap just by a little bit, about 9 pips, filled that gap, moving sideways, biased it sideways. Look for it to potentially go as high as 161.64, possibly as low as 157.87. Look for some resistance around 160.83 and look for some support around 158.95. Now the US Swiss, this pair closed down, did create an inside bar. It has broken through that by at least 1 pip so far. Look for this pair to continue its sideways movement. Look for it to potentially go as high as 0.9997, possibly as low as 0.9793. Look for some resistance around 0.9950 and look for some support around 0.9850. Now as far as news announcements go, we have the Canadian dollar releasing their consumer price index for October. That's being released at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. No consensus on that, but the prior was 1.9%. Then they're also showing that at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, the Canadian dollar will be releasing their retail sales for September. No consensus. Previous was 0.5%. We also have the U.S. gross domestic product annualized for the third quarter being released at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Consensus on that is that things have moved from 2.0% to 2.4%, which of course would be really good news for the US dollar. Now, what am I looking for during this next session? Well, we have the US-Japanese yen pair that has created not one but two inside bars. Two inside bars in a row. This was the first one, and then this was the second one. Basically what we're looking for is a breakout of those and tagging either the high or the low. Now the low is not significant really enough to give us any real pips. I think to the downside it's about 5, which really isn't significant, especially when you count in the spread of 2 to 3 pips. You're just really not getting much. One to the upside is not that much better. It's about 15 pips. Definitely looking for it to move to the upside. And looking for that trade. The one to the downside is just not significant enough to really matter. You can see though that we do have some, we have resistance, so it has a little bit of room to even go above this. So the 15 pips should be a pretty good trade if this pair moves to that point. Now let's take a look at the pound US dollar pair. This pair has created a swing trade over the past 3 sessions. We are looking for a breakout of that to the downside. Let me draw my trend line. You can get an idea of where that's at. Looking for a breakout to the downside. First area that we need to be concerned about would be here. We have previous support here and here, and then moving on down a little bit further with the lows of the subsequent sessions. Now, looking for a quick little grab of about 17 pips, then it drops to about 50 and then down to 66. So if you're going to take this trade, the best way to play this is to go ahead and go short. This point, either exit your trade or go to break even. The other idea is to buy 2 lots, or I'm sorry, sell 2 lots. At that point, you would exit the first one here, come on down and exit the second one at this second support area. You could trail it on down, basically moving your stop loss at each subsequent. So you moved here, you go to break even, you move down a little bit further, you move your stop here, so you lock in about 17 pips worth of profit. Then when you get to this one, when price hits the bottom support level, you move your you go ahead and move your stop down to this point. Then if it pulls back, it's not as big of a deal. Okay, well that about wraps us up. The US Swiss, like I said, has already broken its low of its inside bar. However, if you wanted to go ahead and tag that and look for a breakout to the downside, you could look for it to take out this low, which would provide for roughly about 17 pips or so. There's a good chance that it will retest that low, and when it does, it'll break through it and come on down. If that's the case, it'd be a quick 17 pips or so to pick up. From the open of today's session, you're only talking about a 40 pip move total from the open, so we could definitely see that over the next this next session. Well, that about wraps us up for today. Until next time, this is Jason Fielder. Good trading.